What's good, everybody? This your boy Twice.
The girl say,
Welcome to another episode of Facts and Feelings. Y'all know what time it is. It's time for y'all to do us that favor and share out the podcast. We're going to do the same. We're going to play that intro and we'll be right back. Do us a favor. Go on and hit that share button. Look, don't just share it on your page. Share it in a couple of folks' inbox and maybe they can jump in live and add to the podcast or ask some questions. We'll be right back.
I wonder if it's facts or feelings that you're feeling. I don't know if you know what's for real. Baby, just relax and chill. Let the tea spill. I bet the chemistry stop the bill. I wonder if it's facts or feelings that you're feeling. I don't know if you know what's for real. Baby, just relax and chill. Let the tea spill. I bet the chemistry stop the bill. I wonder if it's facts that you feeling. I love the fact you chillin'. These hours fly by when you and I is chillin'. These hours fly by, feel like a couple minutes. Seen you on my timeline. Hold up, wait a minute, twice and take. Yeah, you know they always catching up. Keep us up to date, cause it's hard to keep up through the day.
And we're back. Once again, it's your boy Twice.
it's your girl say.
All right, today we're going to be talking about what makes your voice matter. What make it matter? Some people might be like, what do you mean by that? My voice matter regardless. And you're right, your voice do matter. Tay sent me a podcast or a clip or a reel or something of a podcast earlier in the week, and the topic that they was having, well, a segment of it, a snippet of it, really stood out to us, and we thought we'd chop it up a little bit on that. We know we always give y'all the facts and the feeling, but I'm gonna let Tay jump in right here and just say what she wanted to say. Like I said, she did find that clip, and I thought it was so dope. Honestly, the perspective it was coming from, that I shared it on my social media stories. But go ahead, Tay.
So the fact of the matter is, your voice does matter. And so when we're talking about that, it's just meaning like your voice matters, and your voice is always a reflection of your experience. And our feelings about this is what 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 exactly does your experience have to do with your voice? Well, in my opinion, I think it has a lot to do. I think, nobody can tell your story like you can tell it. So, unless you're able to share your experiences about what you dealt with, what you've been through, nobody else really knows what that did for you, or how it made you feel. And so, what does that mean? So, in looking at this podcast that we watched, it was kind of very interesting and very insightful. So it was based off of a men's encounter. I can't remember exactly what they called it, but they wanted to know,
Man
like,
enough,
man,
man enough.
yeah, they wanted to know, like, how did this woman, how did she feel she qualified to speak on a topic about being man enough, being that she's a female? How can she really talk about uh, a man and be able to educate people about men, and really talk about a man when she's not a man? And so that was very interesting. And I really wanted to get like my husband's feedback and his input on that, because we had kind of talked about something similar not long ago. And a lot of times, even myself included, I've always felt like, a man can't tell you anything about a woman, and he's never been a woman and never experienced being a woman. But sometimes when you're looking at the experience that you've had with the person of the opposite sex, the opposite race, you can tell your experiences about those situations. And oftentimes from this podcast, I would love for y'all to go and watch it and listen to it, because it does open your mind to seeing things from a different lens and a different viewpoint and perspective. But the experience that you have with that person can tell them more about themselves than they even knew about themselves.
I
So
agree with you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I was just about to say, in this situation, she was kind of talking about it from an oppressor standpoint. And so
Mhm.
before I get into that, I'm gonna let you go ahead on and share what you was gonna
Right.
say.
I'll say, like, jump even before jumping into that. I think one of the things, the guy was talking about man enough and was like, what makes you think you're qualified to speak on this, right? And the response she gave was really what got my attention because it was a black man that was asking. And her response was the same thing that qualifies you to talk about pretty much like on race. Uh, and I forgot the exact angle she was talking about, but it made sense because, and that's kind of when she, right after that, she said something about, the oppressor being able to, how did you work that again, baby?
Just the oppressor is able to share their experiences about being oppressed.
Right. And so she came back and told him like, that was just dope to me because from his experience as a black man, he probably could speak to that so vividly and so dope because it was his experience, right? And
Yeah.
so, and I never thought about that. You probably would look at it like, man, this is man enough. This is something for men. How can a woman get up here and tell us anything? But that little phrase that she used, talking about the oppressor and the oppressed, even like in our, and I hope I'm not jumping the gun, but even like in our marriage, or I won't even say our marriage, I'll say what's in our family. It's been times that you and the kids have been able to tell me something about me that probably I didn't know. Because I think what it is when you're moving in that role, when you're actively moving, living, and doing what you do in a particular role, whether it's being who you are culturally, or what your gender is, your role at work, you don't really get a chance to see you. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes it takes those onlookers to really speak to that. Go ahead. I could tell you got some bubbling up.
Well, no, I was just kind of thinking. I was having a conversation with my staff today, and she was telling me about her staff, and she was like, I know, this particular person is gonna do something like this because this how she moved. This person over here is gonna take them about an hour to do this because that's how he moved. But this other person is probably gonna take her about 2 hours because she's long-winded and she does this. And so all of that kind of ties back into people's characteristics. Sometimes we know certain characteristics of ourselves, and others, we're sometimes either in denial or we just have never seen ourselves from that viewpoint. We've never looked in the mirror and seen that side of us. But other people that deal with us often, they're able to show us in certain times. And so,
Right.
um, another thing that this young lady talked about was like a woman being abused in a relationship with a man. Like you learn him and you learn
Mm-hmm.
his patterns. You know when to sit your back to a certain wall or at a certain exit point to know when you need to be able to get out, or if they come in and this happens, this is how you need to move, this is how you need to respond because you know them. And even
Right.
if they come in and say nothing wrong, I'm good, you know what I'm saying? They're able to pick up on those movements, those habits, to
Mm-hmm.
know, okay, I don't need to say anything, you know what I'm saying? But because they know if they move like this or if they do this, they may get, slapped or
Right.
something may happen in those moments. And so you begin to learn that person and their movements, their behavior, so that you know how to respond and how to react and actually interact with them. And so they don't
Right.
even learn those, they don't even know those things about themselves. So I
Right.
think that was really, really, really key. Yeah.
Right. And what just kind of fell on me just then as you was talking, as we're talking, is like our minds are thinking of some things. And what I was thinking about in that moment was it's like when you tell a woman that she can't speak to certain topics of a man, or when you tell like an African American that they can't speak to certain topics about another race or diversity or culture that they've had experience with, the thing that just popped in my head is that's almost similar to telling someone who's been abused that they can't speak to the abuser. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? How
Yeah.
can I not speak to? I mean, my reality was caused by this person.
Mm-hmm.
So I know this person. I know their moves. I know if they look a certain way, I'm safe. I know if they look another way, I might be finna get it. I know how not to trigger them because I don't want, and this coming from child abuse, sexual abuse. You just know what triggers that person.
Mm-hmm.
So you can definitely speak to it.
Right, yeah. And even with like the race topic, she mentioned it. And even though you may not know that individual person for who they are, sometimes I think that, you sometimes pick up on the habits and the habitual reactions that you get to people of the opposite race. So when you see people clutching or doing certain things, you know why they're doing it because you're used to it. So and that's kind of talking in terms of her looking at the oppressor versus the oppressed. And it makes me think back to like just with race, with blacks and whites. I haven't had a lot of interactions with other races where there was something that I could really pick up on. But just
Mhm.
looking at with race, going into like certain stores, I can remember growing up and being young and hearing like, my mom, or just older people in my family tell us, and when you go in the store, keep your hands out your pocket, because we don't want them
Mhm.
people looking at us thinking that we stealing something or we taking something. And so you kind of learn those habits of how, when people start to follow you around in the store, you already kind of know them,
Right.
who they are.
Right.
And sometimes, people can stereotype you and assume that you're just like the other person,
Mhm.
and so you know more about them than they know about themselves because a lot of times they may say, well, I'm not racist, I'm not prejudiced or I'm not stereotyping you, but you are, and you don't realize that you have that characteristic about yourself. Sometimes it's not even fear of what somebody's going to do. It's just more so you being cautious and careful of, wanting to use wisdom with interacting with people and hoping that they don't do anything to you, not necessarily take anything, but doing anything to you. So it's just you being alarmed, well, not necessarily alarmed, but more alert to the situation and your surroundings. Because even me, as a African American female, if I'm out somewhere and even just thinking about the police pullover type things, you get pulled over by the police and you see who the officer is on the other side, you just automatically your thoughts start triggering and it's like, okay, let me just stay like this, let me keep myself like this, just kind of those things from just the oppression that you've seen other people of similar race to yours have to go through. Your mind just automatically kind of trigger and you just associate people with other characteristics of people from the same race, even though that may not be them. But yeah, but I think like you said, a lot of times people will make you feel like you can't talk about things when it's um about people from an opposite race, but your voice does matter. And a lot of times, I think your voice is important, and it's important for people to hear the voice of opposite sex, the voice of people from different ethnicities and cultural backgrounds than you, because you need to hear like what they feel, how they feel when they're dealing with certain situations, so that you're more mindful yourself of how you interact and engage.
Right. And what kind of fell on me as you were saying that is what that is in those moments when that I don't know, it's a behavior, but when that kicks in, that's you protecting you, right?
Mhm.
That's you trying to do what you can do to make sure that you don't trigger nobody to help you avoid some type of traumatic situation. You know what I'm saying? And when you was talking about that, I just wanted to shed this light on it because me growing up, young black male in Pontiac, Michigan, right? There were certain things that came back to my remembrance as you was talking. Like not only was it you know, watch what you do here, watch it do there, because we don't want nobody think we was stealing. My mom would have to tell me, like, nah, you can't go nowhere because you're not going nowhere with no money in your pocket. You know what I'm saying? Like, couldn't go nowhere. So for me, growing up in Michigan, where I had like Puerto Rican friends, Mexican friends. Pontiac was kind of like a melting pot, right, of a lot of different ethnicities. So for me, it wasn't just my black friends. Like if had a homeboy named Asael that stayed in the Riverside, like if one two times we might have walked into him like, nah, my mom said I can't go down there because I don't have no money, or but he had the same experience. Why? And I guess I never thought about it at that age, but yeah, they minorities too. You know what I'm saying? So it's not just a minority experience. It's not just an African American or black experience, it's a minority experience. And I never thought about that till you kind of brought up childhood. And I thought about some of those moments and just the different backgrounds that was in my particular community in Pontiac and that I went to school with. And we shared a lot of those same views and self-protection mechanisms or methods. You know what I'm saying? Just so I ain't even got to deal with this, I'm gonna make sure I you know what I'm saying, I move like this or I move like that or I don't move like this or that.
Hmm. Yeah. And then I was trying to find the name of it, but all of that kind of made me think about this show that's on Netflix right now. Um, I can't think of the name of it, but it's about let me see. It's about this couple. It's Save the Last Dance. It made me think about that because even we can definitely give our experiences as African Americans, but even like in situations like, and I know we're kind of going all off the topic here,
Right.
but in situations where even when our white friends they become the minority in situations. Um,
Mm-hmm.
we know they're not the minority in the country, but in situations they do become the minority if they're going to an HBCU or different things of that nature, or they're around different events and things where there's mostly African Americans or just people of color. And so in Save the Last Dance, I remember there was a white lady, and she had a background in like ballerina dancing, and so in ballet, and so she wanted to like learn hip hop. I think her mom passed away and she had lost her passion and love for ballet, and so she met this black guy and he started teaching her hip hop. And so people gave her a lot of fits about it because it's kind of like you coming in trying to steal our culture and steal our dance moves and all of that. And so sometimes even our fellow, Caucasian friends, they're put in those situations where it's like you can't go over there and do that because that's theirs, that's their
Mm-hmm.
culture. And a lot of times people are offended. Think about when you have like what's his name, Vanilla Ice.
Mm-hmm.
When he started rapping, people were like, "Wait a minute, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
And then you had your boy from Michigan,
Eminem.
Eminem came along.
Yeah, Eminem came along and owned it though. He came along and owned it.
Down because y'all gonna know I got a place here. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right,
So everybody is put in those situations where you sometimes feel out of place and you feel
right.
like, I'm not
And
gonna be accepted in this.
And speaking on, just thinking about the topic, speaking on Eminem, what makes your voice matter is like Eminem wasn't from the suburbs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you could say he was from the suburb, but because he was off of 8 Mile, but he was from the trailer park, so he had an experience. That was his real experience. You know what I'm saying? So where you might say, man, why is this? What people said was, why is this white boy rapping? Why is this white kid rapping?
Yeah.
Like what he had to say was relatable to us. So it's like, what makes your voice matter?
Yeah.
That experience, it shouldn't be, yeah, hip hop was ours. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But at the same time, he wasn't the first. We know the Beastie Boys came way before him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So there were others, but yeah, Vanilla Ice kind of messed up. We be real, Millie Vanilli messed it up. They were lip syncing. You know what I'm saying? It, everybody ain't solid. Everybody ain't real. But when you
Right. And
whatever, huh?
I was gonna say, and that's the thing. Like, I love how you kind of brought it back around with like Eminem. Like, he grew up in the trailer park and he had a story to tell, and
Right,
his voice did matter.
right.
told his story. Like you said, he owned, you
He
know,
owned it,
his
right,
place in the rap industry, and
right,
nobody can take that from him. And even, we all know Haley.
right, right, right.
And just from him and his lyrics and his
Uh-huh.
music, we know who Haley is. And
Right.
I saw something recently where 50 Cent shared it, and Haley got married, and 50 Cent was there.
Oh wow.
Yes, and he was like, "Oh my God, I saw her growing up. I saw her as a kid, and now here she is today." And he was saying how he wished he had a daughter so he could get to experience that. But it's
That's
just,
wild.
because we heard his heart in those
Hmm.
lyrics. And so,
That's
like we mentioned earlier, your voice comes from your experiences.
right, exactly. Uh, and I just think that's clutch. I'm kind of blown away by the Haley thing because you're right. If you knew Eminem, you knew Haley. And to know that she's grown up and got like I can see it because I know where our children are in life and their ages. But and even in that, like just for 50 Cent to be even be there because he did give her dad his start. And that lets you know how tight that bond must be. We don't really hear Haley no more. We really don't even hear Eminem because Eminem he's arguably one of the greatest of all time. He don't even have to rap no more. But when he pop up, I guarantee you, if he go live now, hundreds of thousands jump on because that's just the mark that he's made, and he solidified his voice in that genre of music,
Yeah.
uh, and music period. But if you even come back to thinking about I don't know why this coming up or where it's gonna go, but more recently we know that it was a someone in our town locally to us who was he was actually trying to voice how he is not in favor of Kamala Harris, but in his pursuit to make her look like not a good candidate, he really started attacking women. You know what I'm saying? And I really wasn't a fan of that. And it's like, what makes your voice matter? Like, I feel like maybe if he was saying certain things, but he was just kind of rambling off. But I do feel like whether she wins or loses, she is a good candidate for the position. And her history, the things that she's done working in politics and things of that nature, she has a resume. Some people might feel like, well, she didn't get that a normal way, because she wasn't voted into that because of what went down with our current president. But hey, she got a voice and she is the vice president. You know what I'm saying? And let's be real, if something would have happened to the sitting president, she would have been president anyway. So clearly, when she was voted in, people thought she was qualified, and her voice would matter in that particular situation.
And then people voted for the ticket. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly, right,
The sitting president to be the next candidate, but they voted for the ticket and she was a part of the ticket.
right,
But even with that, people's voice matters and they're able to, communicate their thoughts about, whichever candidate they want to vote for. A lot of people feel like former President Trump is a great candidate. And they have that right. And then, vice versa, people feel like Kamala Harris is a good candidate, and they have that right to have that voice.
right,
Um, I think a lot of times, just even with just whether it's race, whether it's politics, whether it's gender related, I think the main thing is people have to understand you cannot minimize people's experiences and try to shut them down and shut their voice down because everybody's voice matters. It doesn't
agreed,
matter about the gender, it doesn't matter about the race, it doesn't matter about the political, affiliations. Your voice matters and your experiences, they are important. And I
mhm,
think it's very important to allow your voice to share what your experiences is, whether it's through a creative, form like music, any other kind of art form, because we see people all the time painting, in big cities and different areas and events, and they're selling their paintings, and it comes from their experiences. Sometimes you may see a painting of a sad face with the tears dropping. Well, that has a history. Sometimes people are coming up with that because it's related to their experiences. So your voice matters, whether your voice is heard verbally or whether it's heard, physically or on a painting or whatever it is, let your voice be heard. Yes, I can never, give the experience of what a man is and just tell everything about a man because I'm not a man. And there is no way, no form, no how can I ever walk in a man's shoes because God didn't create me to be one. And so I have to walk in the shoes that was created for me. And but I can give my experience and voice my experience about my experience with a man and the type of man that I have encountered or type of men I've encountered and what I experienced from them, and it can be relatable to somebody else. And sharing that voice may be the voice that may help them get out of an abusive relationship or may be able to even allow them to know if this is a good fit for them or not, So I think it's just important to let your voice be heard um, one way or the other.
Right, and just like you were speaking to you not being a man, but you can speak to it, vice versa for me when it comes to women, vice versa for us when it comes to any particular way that we feel like another race may try to oppress us, right? Because just like we said that the lady said earlier, like the oppressor can teach uh, the oppressed can teach the oppressor a lot about themselves that they might not even know because they may be just moving in what they've always known or what they've always seen. Kind of like how Pastor Julius kind of told us a story a while back about the particular way a granddaughter was cooking a roast. And the mom told her she was doing it wrong. Like, why are you putting that in one pan? It's supposed to be cut in half and put in two pans, right? And so when she went and got the grandmama, be like, tell your granddaughter she doing that wrong. She's like, nah, she ain't doing it wrong. She's like, well, mama, you used to always put it in two pans. And grandma said, girl, because I ain't have a pan big enough. You know what I'm saying? And then so sometime in life, people move how they sing daddy move, mama move, grandmama move, granddaddy move, and they don't realize they're moving a particular way and don't even realize they're wired that way. Uh, so man, it's just one of those things where we know we try to, you and I always try to keep good people around us that's solid and that's honest. And I know that you have friends, that value you like that because even if they don't want to hear, they know you're gonna keep it 100 with them. You know what I'm saying? And then I have friends, and I'm that to my friends. But let me do this real quick. I don't know why this popped in my head, and you can turn it around. I haven't thought about an answer, but let me ask you, Tay, one half of the facts and feelings, right? If you had to speak to somebody who might be on this podcast right now, encourage them on why their voice matters.
So your voice matters. It matters because nobody can tell it like you can tell it. Nobody has walked in your shoes. Nobody has worn the hats that you've worn. Nobody has been through the abuse that you may have experienced or the letdowns or just having your name tarnished or whatever it is that you've experienced, your voice matters. And I feel that when you allow your voice to be heard, it can be that um, just your the sound of your voice and your words and your experience that helps somebody else get over the hurdle that they're facing. It's somebody that's assigned to everybody. And I feel that when we allow our voice to be heard, it's a testament of our life experiences, our ups, our downs, our celebratory moments, those moments that have had us struggling, have had us sad. And also, it's a testament to how we overcame, those moments. Of course, overcoming those moments that were not always good moments, but also being able to share that sometimes we're not going to always have good moments, but when it is good, it's good. But when it's not good, here's what I did and how I overcame them. So I think sharing your voice can be that testament of helping somebody else to get over. And yeah, you may look at it like, well, how does that benefit me? It benefits you because you're helping to free somebody else up. And so, we all need somebody. Iron sharpens iron, and we have to be our brother and our sister's keeper. So your voice matters because it matters in the lives of everybody else.
Good deal. That's good.
Yeah. So now, what about you? How would you
No.
encourage somebody?
Uh, just like you, what you said. Nah. One thing that comes to mind is I know we know a guy, brother in Atlanta, Pastor Ryan Ellis, and I remember one day over a decade ago we were talking, right? And I don't remember what actually the conversation was, but I would say to that person, somebody else would have died in your shoes, because that's what he told me. And while that statement that he was giving to me, I think that's true for anybody that's hearing this podcast right now. There's some experiences that you may have had, right, that somebody else may not have made it out of. They may not have survived, and that's why you have a voice. You have something to speak to. I mean, if you're a teenager, there's been some experiences you had. It could have been parents being separated, parents being divorced, losing a parent, losing a sibling, losing a grandmom. Like, our experience is a tool, right, to help other people overcome what they may experience that we've been through, whatever that may be. Like, your life, not when we go through things, not only is it good for us, because when we see them come up again, we can recognize them, but you know, things we've overcame should be shared. Things that we've been brought through should be shared, because it helps other people overcome. It gives other people strength. It helps other people endure. So what I would say is, uh, just tap into your inner man, and whatever comes your way, know that you can make it, because you can look back over your life and see things that you made it through that you didn't know you were going to make it through, that somebody else wouldn't have made it through.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's real good. And I think also we have to also look at who lent a hand back to pull us up.
Right, exactly.
We excel and move through life and we progress through life and we overcome things in life. We have to always reach our hand back and grab the
Right,
next person along. And
right.
that's how the world
And
rotates.
what you Right. And what you even saying that, what just popped in my mind is, I may have said these on the podcast. I know you've heard me say it, but it always take out me, the word of God said that we're living epistles being read by men daily. And there might be somebody out there. I know there's somebody out here that feels like this, but they might come across this podcast. The thing is the enemy will try to trick us to make us think we don't have a story, right? But we're living in epistles being read by men daily. Watch this. It may be somebody already out there that watched you persevere through something, watch you make it on the other side of something that didn't look good, who already drawn strength from you, have already drawn strength from you. And it might not be nobody you know. I know that there's people out there who might follow certain people on social media and see their reality on social media and have never even seen that person, touch that person in real life, but they can draw strength from strength. You can draw strength from strength. It's like a whale, overrunning whale. When you see there is hope, hope triggers something in you.
Mhm. Yeah. And I think that's why I'm a firm believer of what you make happen for others, God make happen for you. So yeah. That's good, brother twice.
Thank you, Tay. Appreciate Tay.
Yeah, but I think, all this is good. And I think it's, one of those things that we have to really, really remember and just keep in mind that we shouldn't diminish other people's experiences because their experiences are just that, their experience,
Experience.
and their voice matters. Just hear them out, listen to what they're
Right.
saying. Sometimes people are crying out for help when they're voicing their thoughts. Sometimes
Right.
they may be rambling, and we have to read in between every other word to really get, the meat of what
Hmm.
they're trying to say. But just keep in mind that their voice matters, and so does yours.
Right. And this too, regardless of what your race is, regardless of what your gender is, don't let nobody make you feel like you can't bring something to the table. It's almost like Evangelist Patricia Harris was telling us that sometime when Pastor Trailer asks you to preach, you might know what the theme is for the month, and you might be prepared. If he asks me to preach, I'm gonna have to preach on this. She said, but he may come to you the day of, and say, I need you to preach tonight, but I don't need you to preach on this. I need you to preach on the flip side of it. You know what I'm saying? So even if you're bringing the opposite perspective, you got something to share. You got a voice. You got something to bring to the table.
Yeah, exactly. And you gotta have, some healthy debate and some healthy dialogue, because then you can come to a happy medium
Right.
in order
That's good.
to move forward. So yeah, everybody don't need to think the same.
Right. Exactly. Because what I offer, you may not offer, and what you offer, I may not offer. My style of doing it may bore somebody. You know what I'm saying? And those that it bore, your style might engage them. You know what I'm saying? So it's always good to switch it up.
Yeah.
Anything else, babe? Well, that's it for today.
Let your voice be heard.
Let your voice be heard.
Yeah.
So is that a wrap?
It's a wrap.
All right, we thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Facts and Feelings. What makes your voice matter? And I think Tay said, let your voice be heard.
Let your voice be heard.
Let your voice be heard.
For you.
And that's a fact.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's facts or feelings that you're feeling. I don't know if you know what's for real. Baby, just relax and chill. Let the tea spill. I bet the chemistry stop the bill. I wonder if it's facts or feelings that you're feeling. I don't know if you know what's for real. Baby, just relax and chill. Let the tea spill. I bet the chemistry stop the bill. I wonder if it's facts that you feeling. I love the fact you chillin'. These hours fly by when you and I is chillin'. These hours fly by, feel like a couple minutes. Seen you on my timeline. Hold up, wait a minute, twice and take. Yeah, you know they always catching up. Keep us up to